Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. The announcement of Total War Warhammer 3 came as a surprise to many, more so with the confirmation of Cathay as a playable race, an empire in the far east of the Warhammer fantasy world, which was always much requested. Some of us may be aware that the creation of Cathay for Total War Warhammer was born out of a collaboration between Games Workshop, the creators of the Warhammer IP, and Creative Assembly. The concepts regarding Cathay had to be created by members of Games Workshop, mainly because this is a way to ensure that Cathay fits with the general theme of Warhammer Fantasy. For this, some of the creative minds of Warhammer the Old World, a new tabletop game which is based on the Warhammer Fantasy universe, got right on to work, with Games Workshop themselves posting a video on their official YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description below, regarding their thought process behind Kislev and Cathay. It's rather informative, and it's nice to see Games Workshop employees so passionate about Warhammer Fantasy again. But there is one specific clip that I want to show off myself.
Seeing what Creative Assembly have done with my concepts has been really fascinating. My heart lies in the old world. I used to have Empire armies and Orc and Goblin armies, so for me it was a joy and a privilege to go back and come up with new ideas for this, for the Kislev armies and future armies as well.
Future armies as well, what an interesting phrase. While many would attribute that to Cathay, the video that Games Workshop itself posted was about Cathay and Kislev, and even go into some detail regarding Cathay's creation and implementation, which will go as follows.
Cathay is going to be unlike anything that you've ever seen in Warhammer. Yet at the same time it's going to be classically Warhammer. You're going to see an entire part of the world that you've never seen before, populated by an enormous cast of characters, units, monsters, heroes, mythological figures. So it's going to feel entirely new, entirely novel, fantastical, and yet familiar at the same time. It is classic Warhammer like you've just never seen it before.
So what have we learnt so far? Obviously, Creative Assembly and Games Workshop are willing to work on races and factions that never had any sort of army book or that much fleshed out lore to be in fact. Of course, we already saw this in Total War Warhammer 2 with the introduction of the Vampire Coast, and again with Total War Warhammer 3's announcement of Cathay. But let's go back to the first clip. The developer specifically mentions it was a joy to work on Kislev and future armies to come. Does this not sound like they have further plans other than Cathay? This video was posted just a short time after the announcement of the third game in the series, and openly references Cathay near the end of it too. Of course, at this point Cathay was no longer a secret, and everyone already knew, so with the Warhammer Old World developer referencing future things to come, it leads me to believe that we might just see more minor races and factions of the Warhammer Fantasy universe implemented into Total War Warhammer. It's likely you already know where I'm going with this. Minor races such as Araby, Ind, and Nippon. These are races in the Warhammer Fantasy universe that never really had that much fleshed out lore. Some of them had models, but very few ones at that. Yes, I am fully aware that a while back Creative Assembly said that they currently had no plans to do Araby. However, with the announcement of Cathay being confirmed, well, this makes me think about a few things. Mainly, if they would have already confirmed Araby as a possibility, then they would have been forced to confirm Cathay at some point, as people would start speculating over and over. You wouldn't be able to announce one minor race, one that is so highly requested, without people on the forums, Reddit and so on starting to speculate about what else could possibly come too. It would ruin the surprise if, say for example, Araby had been introduced in Total War Warhammer 2, At that point, the surprise of Cafe wouldn't have felt that special, especially if we could already see it coming. But Total War Warhammer 3 is the final game of the series, and Creative Assembly themselves have stated that they want to make it a big bang. This is the perfect time that they'll be able to introduce races that have never been playable in Warhammer Fantasy before, or that have been playable in a very minor sense. It's likely that Nippon and Ind will feature in the campaign map for Total War Warhammer 3's main campaign. Both Ind and Nippon are actually quite close to Cathay geographically, so it's going to have to feature in one way, shape or form. If not Nippon, then Ind at the very least, especially in the big Mega Mortal Empires campaign, which still doesn't have a name at the moment. Ind obviously borders Cathay and the oceans that lead to the Southlands, so it's more than likely that they would somehow feature at least geographically, which means that of course there could be a chance that we could see them. Araby on the other hand is featured on Total War Warhammer 2's map, and we wouldn't be able to see them until the release of Total War Warhammer 3's big Mega Mortal Empires. However, who's to say that they might not get implemented whatsoever? Yes, right now they've said that there's no current plans, but that was a while ago and we've already discussed that. At the very worst sight, it could be that Araby could be introduced as a race pack to players who have all 3 titles, as it's confirmed that that's the only way that you will be able to get access to the Mega Mortal Empires. With the best situation, however, being that we know that Araby have been able to form trade outposts in various parts of the Warhammer Fantasy world. So in theory, who's to say that they couldn't form a trade outpost around that area? There we would be able to have one specific start location and have access to either one of the lords or be able to choose as who we could start as. There are some mods that do this type of thing too. OVN Lost Factions with Albion comes to mind. After which, when implemented into the mega map, then all 4 lords, I'm assuming 4 as race packs normally launch with 4 now, would be split into their own respective start locations. I think something like that would work incredibly well. I know this sounds like an incredible stretch, and it could very much well be, but the inclusion of Cathay as stated before, and that whole possible future armies to come line, it gives me a little hope that we'll be able to see these races in the far future at the very least. This is the last game. They can milk this for all it's worth, and many of us Total War fans and Warhammer fans specifically, we want this to be milked as much as possible. I'm still holding out hope, and I think as long as they don't outright say it's never gonna happen, well, then there's still hope to be had. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our king level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.